The show can't start until we crack open a bottle of Revelton. Whether it's their crisp, clean vodka, the bold spice of their rye whiskey, the rich smoothness of bourbon, or the original honey whiskey that started it all, every pour is a taste of craft and passion straight from the heart of Iowa. So pour yourself a drink, settle in, and get ready to relax, laugh, and enjoy the show.
Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
Red and gold on the edge of the sky, feel the rumble, hear the battle cry. Out in Ames where the storms ignite, we don't back down, we rise and fight. Jack Trice's name, yeah, it echoes strong. A story of honor still marches on. Through the rain, through the pain, through the fire we roar, 'cause we were built to thrive in the eye of the storm. Feel the ground shake, hear the crowd roar. Cyclone power, can't take no more. Legends rise, this is our norm. We stand tall in the sigh of the storm. There's a cyclone blowing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Trice shakes when the team takes flight. Milton's rocking, hear the magical. We rise together, we'll never fall.
Back to In the Side of the Storm, where we talk all things Cyclones. We are live from the AKC Marketing Studio with Andrew Downs and sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company out of Osceola, Iowa, and Iowa Beef Steakhouse. And you're going to want to stick around for one of our newest sponsors, the debut commercial for Naked Dave's, and we'll just leave it at that. You got to see the commercial to believe it. And we welcome back a familiar sponsor of ours, Style by JJ Boutique, who I need to get up there and see if they have that red velvet jacket. I am dying to try it on. I'm Dave Larson here with my Storm Team partner in Cyclone Great, the legend, Marcus Fizer. Good evening, Marcus. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you, Dave?
I'm doing great. Mr. Vintage, Brent Curvey, had a family commitment tonight, so he's not able to join us. And I think we're both sort of in this weird space because we're watching football while we're online.
Yeah. We're sports guys, so we're going to do a little bit of both. I know Brenton's probably at home watching it too. He said the in-laws had came through. So, you know, when the white family come through, you got to roll out the red carpet. So we understand. That's
right. Okay. The temperatures here in central Iowa have been brutally cold. I stayed in all weekend. I've got a little bit of a sore back from painting last weekend. And then I just looked out and went, it's too cold. Like, do you want to tell me about how great it is in Las Vegas? It's sunny and it's 75 and
it's 6:11 p.m. right now.
Tell me all about it.
We're sitting at a brisk 48 degree.
Oh, 48.
I mean, it's 6 p.m., so we'll take it. The dog's in the backyard. She's running around having fun. I got out. I bought me a drone and got out a little bit earlier with my beat thongs on, my flip flops on, and flew it around a little bit. Kids was coming around off the park, and man, I had no idea what I was doing. I had to press this home button, get this thing on out the sky before it tears somebody's head off. So had a little fun earlier in between the games, and nice what the kids out playing. We're not subject to those tundra type temperatures you guys love.
Well, I feel like we're to blame because our last show was on that Saturday before the Cincinnati game. Again, thank you to the 1858 fan club for inviting us out for their game day pregame before the Iowa State Cincinnati men's game. And that's the second time that we've been on location there in which there's been a winter weather event going on while we're going live with the show. I just feel like we're bad karma to bring us in. If you want snow, invite Side of the Storm.
Well, hey, it is what it is. I mean, we appreciate them definitely for having us, but either way, I'm going to get good weather out here. We probably get a chill off one more time before the winter is over, but February is around the corner, and we're going to start hitting probably the 70s pretty soon.
Well, and one thing that's keeping us warm is the men's basketball team. They have returned. I think that our last show on that Saturday before Cincinnati, we were talking about, okay, let's use the Kansas game as a reset. Instead, they lost to Cincinnati by 9. Momcilovic, of course, went off, but the rest of the team, we lost that game. And that did seem to be the reset, because since that game, then we throttled UCF 87-57, and then went to Stillwater yesterday, and we were up by 30 points at halftime, 51-21. I was watching the game just prior to the women's game, and I thought, okay, that game is over. The second half looked like Oklahoma State decided to make it a game. Ultimately ended up to be a similar score as when Oklahoma State came to Ames. Cyclones win it 84-71. For those of you taking notes at home, the game in Hilton was 83-71. So pretty close finish either way. What was your take on that second half of the Oklahoma State game? Is there any concerns there that you saw after just blowing them out in the first half?
Well, not necessarily. The first half to me was probably a surprise. I mean, again, this is the Big 12. It doesn't matter what the record and score is, especially being on the road. It felt good, to be up so much in the first half, but I knew it was, one of those situations where, anything can turn on a dime in this conference, and it almost did. So to still come out with a victory, I just can't. I can't imagine what those last couple practices have been, for TJ and those guys losing those 2 in a row. I would have enjoyed being at those practices more than being at the games, because I know, that's for the players and for the coaching staff. The assistant coaches may have had a little different of a mindset than the head coach. The head coach probably was definitely blowing smoke out of his ears. But for the players, you really, really focus and lock in, and you're looking for that next opponent to come in. And when UCF came in, we handled that game and ultimately to Okie State. But, I would have loved to have been in those practices to see how everything was going and watch the intensity. I can imagine it was some, intense, really real get-down hooping. When you say, we hooping, we're not just playing basketball, we're getting down and we hooping, that's what transforms, you back to being on the right track. So it's been good. It's been fun to watch on the outside of losing those 2 games the way we did. It was hard watching ESPN and Sports Center and all the different, because everybody, knocks off number 2 Iowa State. I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's get back on right track. We failed a couple spots. I figured that was going to happen. All the way to 9 is a little bit too much to me, but I figured, they're going to do that. But it's okay. It's not about the rankings to me. It's about how we're playing. Looking forward to keeping this train rolling.
Well, and that Kansas loss now doesn't look quite as bad. They've gone on. They've won 4 straight, so they seem to have righted that ship. And I think that you want the Cincinnatis, you want the Jayhawks to continue to win, because that really dresses up the Iowa State record a little bit more with those 2 losses coming against those 2 teams. And now we have the opportunity to make a little bit of a run here before we see the Jayhawks return on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, Kansas is what Kansas is. It doesn't matter. They could have been 0-12 for whatever reason, and you go down there, they're going to be hard to beat, especially being number 2 ranked in the nation, and you coming in and, that rivalry, playing against KU is always going to be there for the Cyclones. So that wasn't a surprise. I think the biggest surprise was how well Cincinnati played. Not to take anything away from their players, because they really got some players too. The big fella Baba is just definitely going to be a lottery pick when he makes his decision to go. So again, this is the Big 12. We understand what can happen night in and night out. But I was more surprised about the Cincinnati loss than the Kansas loss. I felt nervous about it. I got, we was on the podcast or we was on the text message, and I said I feel nervous about this one. I was really, thinking the Kansas one might be a loss for sure. That ended up happening, but I definitely didn't see Cincinnati being that bad of a loss. Not, point-wise, anything like that, but just how we played overall. We know Milan played extremely well. Love to see him shooting the ball. I don't think he's shooting the ball enough. I'm talking about 20, 25 shots if you got to put it up.
Well, and you talk about guys, as a whole, we're playing after those two losses, maybe our best basketball this season, short of some spurts in there. We talked about the second half of Oklahoma State, but Momcilovic had 20 against UCF, 20 or 29 against Oklahoma State. He had that 34-point game, couple games. Well, that was a Cincinnati loss, and he's, believe it or not, he scored 20 points in 10 games this season, which I think is pretty remarkable, including these last 3 games where he scored more than 20. So he's on quite the stretch. He's shooting like 54% from three.
Plus, right.
That's incredible.
Phenomenal. Incredible. Absolutely. I mean, I heard it a few different times. You hear the commentator say it, and you kind of want them to stop talking about it because how the jinx goes. How the jinx goes. But shoot it, man.
Every show they're talking, or every broadcast they talk about jelly bean, the key word that he thinks about every game that he shoots or every shot that he shoots. Like,
don't jinx us. Jinx somebody else, man. Don't talk about another shit.
This is amateur psychology, but when I was coaching real younger kids, there was a play, and I had taken over a team that hadn't won a game yet, and the team that they were on the prior season, they hadn't won a game, and so I brought on like half of the kids onto one of my teams, and just different mindset, and had a kid that played forward. He played point guard for me, and just a bunch of fun kids. And his saying we came up to, and this is long before we even started thinking about psychology in basketball, but his focus word was tapioca pudding, and when he went to the free throw line, specifically tapioca pudding. And so all of a sudden he got to be like a 90% automatic free throw shooter. And then towards the end of the year, he just would look at me sitting on the bench and go, tapioca. So, I think there's something to be said about having a focus word. I think that's pretty cool that jelly bean
is pretty cool.
Momcilovic's keyword.
I wonder where they get that from to come up with that particular, particular word. I've never had anything like that.
You didn't have a keyword when you were playing? Focus word?
No, I wasn't. Hey, put the ball in the hole. If you allow me to kick it in, I was gonna find a way to kick it in. But I wasn't a 3-point shooter or anything like that. I was just a scorer, like a flat out scorer. So, jump hook, layup, dunks to the basket, whatever. I was putting the ball in the hole.
Yeah, we noticed that. The other story out of this last week was Joshua Jefferson now with his second triple-double, just the 10th triple-double in Iowa State history, at least since it's been. I don't think that they necessarily tracked a lot of the assists and a lot of the rebounds back in the day. And so this is somewhat of a newer stat. I want to say since the early 80s, but nonetheless, Joshua Jefferson, his second triple-double and his second this season, which I think says a lot about his talents and what he's been able to do for the Cyclones this season. And one of your former teammates has one of the other triple-doubles, Jamal Tinsley.
Yeah, that guy was all right. He wasn't too shabby. Curtis was tough. Definitely shout out to Curtis, Royce, Monte, and the rest of the guys. Tyrese, a little surprised. How many did he have? He only had one? These are the number in total history, yeah. Yeah,
we've had 10 total, and Jefferson's had 2 of them. So pretty impressive stat there.
I was a little surprised that Tyrese only had one, but I mean, college is definitely different than in the pros. I think, when you have that ability to pass and rebound the ball, you get 10 points in the pros, it's a lot easier to be able to achieve that, than in college, because you got zones and all that different crazy crap to contest with. But, congrats to the guys for sure. Hopefully get another one before the year's out. Break records, kid.
Yeah, I think that would be really exciting to see. I mean, just to have 2 under your name is very impressive, and just such a talented player. And so congrats there out of Joshua Jefferson with his second triple-double. Obviously, again, the team really seems to be back on track. We've got some big games coming up in the schedule. I think that we've got 2 games yet this week. Then I think we have a week off here. I think I have the schedule here I can pull up. So Colorado at home, and we bring in a guy that you're familiar with, his dad there, Sebastian Rancic, is going to be in town. I see that he scored 20 points the other night against, was it UCF in a loss for the Buffs?
Yeah, well, that's against where I'm at. Oh, Colorado.
Yeah, I play Colorado this week. So, and this is
29.
kind of a weird schedule. We play Thursday, then come back on Sunday to play. We've got some weird scheduling course. I think we've got a game coming up. I think it's Kansas at home on the 14th, and then we play Houston at home. At least those games are back to back at home. 2 days later on that, I assume that's a big Monday matchup against Houston.
Yeah. Sharp. I'm familiar with his dad too, man. His dad was teammates as pros for 2 years. I remember when he was a little bitty boy, because he was born in Israel when he played for Maccabi Tel Aviv. So,
Really?
Yeah, I remember him when he was a little boy. Of course, Martine, he and I played together at Iowa State for 3 years. So, God, man, we getting old. Oh my goodness.
Does it make you feel old? Some of these guys, kids playing now.
Listen, this is a quick, fun story. I got up on the plane one year with the Bulls, and Jalen Rose, who's almost never early for the plane, was already sitting down in his seat. Yeah, his seat was always in front of me, facing on the other side of the bar.
So,
yes, they have
did you think you were late when you jumped on the plane and he was already on it?
No, I mean, I knew it was just a more surprise that Jalen was already there.
All right.
I don't know what he was going through. He had been going through some things, whatever, but he sat there. I'm from Detroit. Jalen's from Detroit. Always been, one of my mentors and heroes growing up, playing at University of Michigan or whatever. But he sat there and was just stoic, looking straight ahead. At first, I thought he was looking at me, and I didn't know what was going on. So, they was passing out food and drinks and things like that, plane takeoff, and he still just hadn't moved or whatever, and he's just standing straight ahead. So once I acknowledged a few times that he wasn't looking at me, now I'm wondering what's going on with my vet. What's going on? Well, you go over here and sit down there. And so I sat down next to him when nobody sitting next to him. Big first-class seats that's on the Bulls plane or whatever, and he still didn't move. And so, I tapped him. And, he kind of shook it. And I was like, hey, man, what's going on? You all right? You whatever? And he just looked and shook his head. And he's like, man, I'm looking at all you guys. And he straight up said, I done fucked around and got old. I fell over forward out of the chair laughing. So he was like 28 years old. I'm like, man, I'm like 21, 22. Like, how old do you think you are? But when you think about, how much basketball he didn't play, and we just came from practice. We're younger, 21, 20. We was jumping out of the gym, running past him and everything like that. He was like, I guess he was just reminiscing on and we were in our 20s then. To think, he's 50 now, and I'm about to be 50 in 3 years. Like, time goes by so fast that it's ridiculous.
What?
It's absolutely ridiculous.
What's it like? You're talking about the Bulls team plane. Is it set up like a traditional airline plane that we're used to when we jump on a 737 or something like that? Or are there customized seats? Are they?
Right.
Do you have your own little lounge area? What's it like flying on a private team plane like that?
Well, different teams have different planes, different setups. The Bulls plane was mainly in the front for the coaches. I guess, MJ and Scotty and some of those guys set up way up front. Then it was the next section where it was just completely open. The bar was on the left side. You get drinks and food, some of the best food, that you can ever eat. And then that whole open section, it was those two seats that Jalen sits in, and there was no seats around there. And it was a big, like, couch-like limo type seat in front of the bar. And then from the bar on back, it was 1, 2, 3 rows of like two seats on both sides, but big, humongous, like first class seats. And then behind those was a wall, and that's where the press and everything who flew with us, whatever. But that's basically it. I mean, it was just the players. The plane wouldn't be super, super full or anything like that. But then when I was with Milwaukee, their plane was a little bit different. They had the bigger seats, but it was more just a straight whole plane. I like their setup a little bit better. Terry Porter was the coach there, and he actually let your family fly with you, which was really well. The Bulls didn't allow that for whatever reason. It was a lot easier with Milwaukee because once you play that night, if you're in the city, you fly home or you fly to the next city or whatever. If your family is with you after the game is over, there's no flights. They go back to the hotel. Then they got to come the next day or so. So with Milwaukee, he would let the sign they put on the manifest, and kids and wife fly with you, and everything was good. So it just depends on the plane. I can imagine now here's 25 years later, planes are probably absolutely ridiculous, so big screen TVs and all of that, but it's definitely different than the regular plane for sure.
Interesting.
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely.
So Cyclones seem to be back. They got their mojo back and have an opportunity with some of these upcoming games to really fix things. And still behind Arizona, who is undefeated.
Well.
And they are playing well. And the irony is that we get a chance to go back down to Tucson to play them, which doesn't quite seem fair after last season, but it is what it is. That would still be a pretty impressive win if we were to pull that out. I hate to get too far ahead of ourselves because that's the second to last conference game of the season, and a lot can happen between now and then. But again, Thursday at home against Colorado, and then have a chance to play in Manhattan against Kansas State. As we sort of get this mojo back, it feels like we can come back to some of those comparisons between this team and the 2000 team, particularly with Momcilovic playing as well as he is. We talked about Joshua Jefferson and his second triple-double of the season. For you, being on that 2000 team, to really draw a comparison, you talked about that 32-5 record, but do we look at, let's say they only lose 4 or they only lose 3, and I'm getting way ahead of myself on this one, but would it be more of the overall record that we should draw parallels to or comparisons to, the final ranking? And I look back, you guys were number 3 in the final coaches poll. There was no final AP poll of that year. It was just a coaches poll. You were number 3. Right. And then obviously the Elite 8. Do we have to get what of those 3 to be able to really have an honest discussion about comparisons between this team and your team? Should this team have to meet? Is it the record? Is it the ranking? Or is it where we finish in the NCAA tournament?
Well, for me, if I was a player on the team right now, not saying that they're gunning for that accolade or anything like that, but we are competitors, and I wanted to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, athlete to ever play at Iowa State. So that was my goal, taking the team to a distance that they had either never been or, hadn't been in a while. So for me, I would be thinking about all 3, the final ranking, the record, and how far that I'll lead the team. You can, for whatever reason, have a losing record and win your conference tournament, go on a hot streak, get into the tournament, go on a hot streak and make it to the Final Four. Or you can be undefeated first round in the tournament and lose that game. Now you're out of the tournament. So to me, I think, the comparison to me will have to be all 3. Once the bar is set, and again, I'm not trying to derail them or hope that they don't, because I said, like I said, records are made to be broken. Go ahead and break them. Yeah. Let's see what we can do. Change the dynamic of what everybody has expected. I know here of late they expect Iowa State to be a competitive team and to do some great things, but I can still feel it, inside that they still, want to, that's Iowa State. So, we're going to get to the point where the respect should be where it is. TJ is definitely going to have these guys ready for that, no matter who it is that we're playing up against. But, I just personally think all three will have to be or close in comparison. I mean, if they lose 6 games or whatever, but then go to the championship and we win it all, I'm not going to say, that's not particularly. I'm not comparing the team to look at it in contrast of hoping that they don't. I'm kind of like, like I said, I hope we win all games. Well, we've lost 2 now. Let this be the only 2 that we lose.
All right. Hey, I want to take a quick break. We're going to take 2 breaks tonight because we've got the new commercial lined up from Naked Dave's, which I chuckle because you just got to see it to believe it. But that's a tease. We're going to hear a word from 2 sponsors. We'll come back and talk, and then we'll debut the new commercial. So let's hear first from Revelton Distilling.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
In the heart of Des Moines, one name has stood above the rest: Iowa Beef Steakhouse. Step inside, and you enter a place where tradition still matters, where the atmosphere feels familiar, warm, and unmistakably Iowa. Service isn't rushed. It's personal, attentive, and rooted in genuine care. And before the main event, the freshest start in the city, our signature salad bar, crafted every single day. Then comes the reason people have returned for generations: Iowa beef, hand-seasoned with pride. Guided by flame, forged by heat. This is where flavor becomes legend. Served with the same care it was crafted with, a meal meant to be remembered. And whether the night calls for bold, smooth, or something in between, our bar offers a selection as rich as our history, including the old-fashioned we've become known for: balanced, timeless, unforgettable. And long after the fire cools, the glow of this place stays with you. Iowa Beef Steakhouse, 1201 East Euclid Avenue, Des Moines, Iowa, where Iowa comes for steak, done right.
All right, we're back to Inside of the Storm. I always like to show what I'm drinking, and tonight I just finished off my mulberry gin. So in preparation, we now have the honey whiskey that we'll start on, and that'll be gone in a few days. I'll probably have to get a couple more, but we have got great sponsors. We have got more that are continuing to want to join us, which is always great to see and cool to see. I want to talk a little bit about women's basketball. So I was sitting in the women's game yesterday as the men's game was going on, trying to watch, and things seem to be, you talk about the GOAT of Coach Fennelly, and he's done just that. And it's also coincided with coming back to Hilton. We got rid of the 5-game losing streak. Wednesday played against Cincinnati, where incidentally that 5-game losing streak began. Ariana Jackson returned from her injury, and Jada Williams absolutely goes off for 44 points. Is that a school record? No. It's second to Audie Crooks, who had scored, 47 earlier this season as well. So this season's team has the two highest scorers in school history on it with Audie and Jada. Iowa State women won 93-68. Then yesterday, Jada against her former team found out before the game even started that Jada was under the weather, not feeling well. So she was actually questionable. But if you know Jada, she has a fire inside of her like none other. And I don't think anyone was expecting her to miss playing against her former Arizona teammates. And they won yesterday 90-65. I want to say she had 19 points in that win. I tell you what, the women look like a totally different team than the one that we saw in the 5-game losing streak. Ariana is showing no signs of really that injury that took her out. In fact, if anything, she seems more aggressive. She seems to be more free-flowing in the game. The entire team does. Evangelia Polk is getting more minutes. She, in fact, started yesterday's game, and you don't necessarily see the scoring out of her, but you do see the athleticism, the defense, just the spacing on defense. And I think that's something that you know a lot about is, hey, you don't necessarily have to be a scorer to impact the game. It's how you play defense and how you face up and where your spacing is on the court. That can have a bigger impact than your ability to score at any time. Would you not agree?
Yeah, to even harp back on that 5-game losing streak, man. I think I only recall we had lost 3. Me and my wife were out, and she was like, "Man, you guys, your women have lost 1 in a row." I was like, "No, we haven't." and then you just said we lost 5 in a row, and that kind of threw me because my mind was still on 3. That I was kind of like, I can't believe, we're going, but again, the GOAT is going to do what the GOAT is going to do. I mean, injuries definitely hit and had his part in that losing streak. But, we know the product that we have. We know once, everything gets rolling and the ladies are healthy, what we can do. So being able to gel, to be rolling, scoring points, getting in position to score the points and, run that up is definitely going to translate to more wins. So we love that, yes.
Well, and some of the moves I think Coach Finley's made has really impacted the defensive side. And as we've seen on the men's side, you can take that defense, turn it into offense. And now the women have scored almost identical scores in the last 2 games of 90-plus points.
Yeah.
That has a big impact when you can play good defense. And you don't necessarily have to smother the other team, but boy, if you can just get in the way and it's a tip ball there. It's being unable to drive because you've got another player standing in your driving lane. That has such an impact against the other team that we're able to see some success on the women's side. So that's fun. And Reese Beatty, I love watching her. She's like a Jada Williams, but young, right? She's a freshman, but she has so much energy and just comes in and goes at it. I love watching her play. The women now 16-5, 4-5 in conference. If we can just stay, I'm not suggesting that we're going to win every single game, but if we can be competitive and go 500 or better the rest of the way, I think we've got a good chance with Addie Brown, if she can come back and play the last couple of games of the regular season conference play and then heading into the Big 12 tournament. I still say that this is a Final Four quality team. Now, will they make that even with a healthy Addie Brown? I don't know, but the talent's there. Now you're getting some younger kids that are gaining confidence that can come in and they're going to feel like, hey, I can compete at this level. That I think, while losing Addie Brown and Ariana Jackson for a spell has really impacted this team, the fact that they've been gone and giving these opportunities to these younger players could have a dramatic impact that we didn't see coming at the end of the season if we're able to secure a spot in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, but the thing you have to understand that if somehow, some way, we do hit another slide or just, 500 and on out, and we do get Addie in back at the end of the year, and we don't necessarily get the seeding we should get as the caliber team that can be bad for a lot of other teams down the road. So if we can get her back, of course we know this how good and how talented this team is. It's not far-fetched to think our men or our women are not a Final Four caliber team. So we just keep trucking along. Don't try to rush it back at all. We have enough talent to steer the ship until she's able to come back healthy, and we see what happens from there.
Being a player on a talented team like this, where would you like to see her come back? I mean, is it something where you want to see her back for 3 games in conference play heading into the Big 12 tournament? Would you like to see her return in time for the Big 12 tournament? It feels like a lot of times to integrate a player back into the flow and for them to feel comfortable back into the flow, there seems to take a couple of games to do that. But at what point would you want to see her coming back to go, okay, women, we're back, let's go to it?
I wouldn't mind seeing a couple games before the Big 12 tournament. A couple games to, even if I don't know what the schedule is at, during that time. But even if there's a couple games to get reacclimated to everything that's going on, nothing crazy. Even if she can come back 5 games before, but we can hold her out because everything looks good. The ship is being stirred in a way to where we don't necessarily need her to risk her to get injured again or whatever. So a couple games before the Big 12 tournament, getting in the Big 12 tournament, that's pretty much the same thing as the conference. So, 1 or 2 games before, possibly 1 game before and getting into the tournament, get a couple games in there and, get rolling and flowing through the NCAA tournament. It's all I think she needs.
So the women play Wednesday night at Texas Tech and then come back next Saturday at home against UCF. And then there's a week off, which I think Coach Fennelly was commenting on his post game yesterday that they could use a bye game where they have a week to just kind of get their bearings straight and take a little bit of a rest, because they've been going at it pretty solid here.
Yeah.
Give them a little bit of time off. Now they do get that week off. Then they play it on Saturday, the 7th against Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuesday, the 10th at BYU. Would you prefer to just stay out there, or would you want to come home and then fly back out to Provo?
I stay out there. I mean, what's the point? Yeah, what's the point in coming back home? Just treat it like, if you're in the NCAA tournament and you're in the rounds where you play on the Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, Sunday, just go ahead and stay out there. Don't worry about flying, because a lot of people don't understand. It doesn't matter how well the amenities are on the flight. Still going up and down still does what it does to the joints, fluid, things like that. So all of that, it has to be taken into account. So there's no point in just coming home. I'm sure it's a lot cheaper probably to come home. Not necessarily. I don't know what the jet fuel and everything will cost, but just go ahead and stay out there.
They were Coach Fennelly was making a comment on the coaches show on Monday night that Saturday, where the men at? They were coming back. Who did we play last Saturday? Was that Oklahoma State? Yeah, in Stillwater. No, Cincinnati.
Yeah, last Saturday, not yesterday, Saturday.
And then the women were heading out of town, and apparently their plane had some problems. Mm-hmm. And the men flew in, and behind the scenes, all I call them the coaching general managers or the basketball mm-hmm. team management.
Right.
They had flipped the plane around, which usually takes an hour and a half to do that. They did it in literally 15 minutes. The men were helping unload their plane and then reload it and get it cleaned up. Yeah, I thought that was a great story about teamwork and how these programs are working together to help one another out. So, and that again, that was after the men had lost that game at Cincinnati. So for them to do that, I think it says a lot about the class that Coach TJ expects and the class of the players.
Listen, I mean, there's no secret, and I tell people, this really out of my heart. Like, how good of a team, how good I became at Iowa State was a direct reflection of the professionalism and the hard-nosed coaching and the product Coach Finley put onto the floor. I really didn't want to, not necessarily say to be a second fiddle or second class to the women, anything like that. But once that bar is set, you don't want to be like, oh, your women's team is phenomenal, but you guys are whatever. So that part alone, I give so much of my success at Iowa State to Coach Finley. I've told him before. I tell him every time I see him. Every time I'm at Iowa State visiting, I'm going to see him because he's been there since before I got there. He was a pivotal part of my playing career when I was there, even though he wasn't my coach, even though he did coach me in ways, But just to be able to have that, not necessarily camaraderie, but that connection with our women's team. And, we're all Cyclones. And to be able to do that, that's absolutely beautiful. You said they turned the plane around. I don't know if did they spin it around or what did they do?
Clean it out, unload it, load it back up.
That's amazing. That's amazing because, to be able to do that and get the ladies on the way, is a great gesture for sure.
Well, and you teed that up a little bit. So congrats to Coach Finley, who has achieved 300 conference wins between the Big 8, the old Big 8, and the Big 12. So
only 300. 300. This guy's slouching. Only 300. Yeah, congrats.
Impressive what he's done.
Congrats to Coach. We know, Coach. That's one thing. I know we've gone through some ups and downs, with the men's program. We had a lot of highlights with Coach Prom and then ran into a little trouble and issues and stuff up and down. We've had a few seasons that hadn't been the best, but we know, with the GOAT being there, he has always put a product out there that we've always been proud about. We hadn't, won the national championship yet, have had some deep runs and things of that nature. I've had some unfortunate injuries and stuff, but we know what we're going to get out of him night in and night out. So definitely congrats. All right, Marcus, are you ready for the new commercial? Oh, yeah. I'm waiting on this one. It's Naked Dave's. It's not what you think it is. I hope it's not. And we'll hear from them after we hear from JJ's Boutique. But right immediately following is the debut of Naked Dave's commercial. Let's go.
Gentlemen, let's be honest. Finding the perfect gift for your wife or girlfriend isn't always easy. You want something thoughtful, stylish, and unique. And that's exactly what you'll find at Styled by JJ Boutique. Julia Bradshaw and her team strive to be your go-to boutique for casual, boho, and chic clothing and accessories, helping women elevate their style one piece at a time. Located right here in Johnston, Iowa, Styled by JJ brings trendy, high-quality fashion that boosts confidence without breaking the bank. So, if you're looking for a gift that says, I get you, instead of I tried, head to Styled by JJ Boutique. Because nothing makes her smile like feeling beautiful. Styled by JJ Boutique, where style meets confidence. Visit our Johnston location or shop online at styledbyjjboutique.com.
Welcome back to Cooking with Billy and Willie. We're already in progress because great cooking doesn't wait. Today, we're turning things up with Naked Dave's seasoning and sauces.
This chicken and the beef here and all this stuff is fantastic. It tastes fantastic with this Naked Dave stuff.
Oh yeah, dude, this barbecue sauce.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah, that's why we're doing the commercial for Naked Daves. That's why we're pretend like we're naked. We pretend like we're naked, and then we eat. It'll be a good commercial.
It will be, for sure.
Hey, why are you really naked? You didn't have to be all the way naked. You just were pretend.
It's supposed to, I wanted it to be like realistic, like Daniel Day-Lewis. Or
well,
something.
one thing you can keep the chair after this. Where's the director?
What's the problem? What is your guys' problem? It's fine.
What? Why's he naked?
I told him we were doing a naked commercial at your house.
This is like the worst porno flick ever.
Naked Dave. Look at Dave.
It really is good.
If you want bold flavor that doesn't hold back, try Naked Dave's seasoning and sauces. Find it at your local Hy-Vee grocery store. Ask your grocer to carry it or order online today at www.littlewolffoods.com. And remember, Naked Dave's, you don't have to be naked to use it.
Big man. Oh, it was damn close. it was close.
It's Naked Dave seasoning. I'm really excited to try that out. That looks really good now.
Yeah. Try out the seasoning though, right?
Yeah. It's fun to see Bill and Willie, and they've got their own podcast, and for that matter, Julia Bradshaw has her own broadcast on Three Beards Media. So it's a growing network, growing family. We're continuing to add sponsors, and Naked Dave's is the newest entrance, and we're really excited to have them on. Cannot wait to try their seasoning out, especially with football and tailgating. And once we get through this winter season, we're going to have a lot of, the grills are going to start popping out because people are going to be excited to grill out again, and hope that you can try Naked Dave's and go grab yourself some Revelton as well. So
yeah, football season is always great.
Yeah.
The game is over. A lot of people owe Sam Darnold apologies. 346.
I'm excited for Seattle fans. My dad had moved out to live. I've got an aunt, uncle, and cousins that grew up in Seattle area, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a mess now with all the traffic because everyone from LA migrated up there in the mid to late 80s. But Seahawks are kind of like my childhood team that while I was a Cowboys fan, Seahawks, because of the dad and the uncle and family members, was sort of my secondary team. The colors were loose, the blue and the silver, kind of close to the Cowboys. At that time, they were in the AFC. So really excited. And of course, we've seen Sam Darnold make the moves around the NFL and not see success in Carolina, and then pop up in Minnesota and light it up. And so I got to think they're the Super Bowl. They're the leading. You got to think they're going to win, right? I mean,
yeah,
is that where you're putting your money?
I that's what I will put my money. Like I said, definitely rooting for the young fella that that's good friends with my cousin from back home. Milan Momcilovic that played at Louisiana Tech, won the Super Bowl last year with the Eagles. Would definitely love for him to win the Super Bowl again this year. I think Seattle. I think that if Seattle got past the Rams and Stafford, then they were going to be the favorites for me. And that's what I think they are now. Like they got the best receiver in the game. The quarterback is playing like to throw for 346. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of. I'm gonna be right. The kids don't go to school in the morning, so I don't have to get London lunch together. But I'm gonna be down here making my drinks and everything that my old man drinks in the morning to get my blood flowing and moving. But I'm gonna be right in here in front of First Take to see those apologies, because even Sam Darnold, that's all I've been hearing for the last couple of weeks, and he's gotten them to the Super Bowl, back to the Super Bowl. We're gonna see what happens.
Did your Raiders find a coach yet?
I hadn't heard anything about it. No, I hadn't heard anything about it. No, I hadn't heard anything about it. No. What was that? Our fifth coach in the last, 4 years?
Yeah, something like that.
They paying some guys, not the coach. Isn't John Gruden still getting paid? It sounds like a 10-year, $100 million deal.
Hell, John Madden's probably still getting paid by them. So, going down and playing in Fog Allen, you hear the constant rock, hawk, jayhawk, or rock, chalk, jayhawk, whatever it is.
Rock, chalk.
So it's super annoying. Different football stadiums, basketball arenas, there's chants, there's songs that come up. I'm sure opposing fans and players get annoyed with Juicy Wiggle, which I don't really care. I love it. But as a player, that kind of had a question for you and for Brent. I wish he were here, but Was there a place that you would go to and you would just roll your eyes if a song came on or a chant like that came up? Was there a place or a song that just grinded at you, that just annoyed you?
Well, my years, it definitely was probably KU, but I played, there my freshman year and my junior year. And surprisingly, with Paul Pierce and Ray LaFrance, Scott Paul, those guys there, we had a pretty good game, a surprisingly good game against them. We ultimately lost. They had, 7, 8 pros on their team. Yeah. But we didn't get that. I remember it being such a good game, such a close game. I don't remember. I remember hearing that whole rock chalk chant after, other teams playing down there, and really didn't know what it was.
You didn't notice it when you were playing there, though?
No.
Okay.
But it got annoying hearing it, watching on TV and someone, I'm like, what is that? And, they explained what it was. My sophomore year, obviously we beat them at the Hilton, and it was at the Hilton Coliseum. And then my junior year didn't hear it at all because we went down there and took care of business, first time in 50-something plus years. So I didn't get it much. I didn't get it much as a player at all, but that probably would be one of the most annoying. Besides, I don't know if at Cameron Indoor Arena they chant anything, but that jumping up and down would be annoying. What the students do. But the way that you've never been to that place, I would assume, but that place is just terrible. I played AAU there many summers, and it's just there's no AC in the place. It's hot. It's really, really small and cramped. The students are right there upon the players, so that would probably be the most annoying thing to have to deal with. Well, the teams and stuff in the Big 12 that I played, I never really – Missouri was on us hard.
Oh, yeah.
Missouri, they used to
Missouri.
Yeah, they used to always – one of the funny – they used to chant Iowa State is built on the floodplain. And I was like, what the hell is that to say? You know what I mean? and
true.
Then,
it's true.
They say, you remember the arena flooded one year. I was like, man, how old was I when that happened? As long as it don't flood now, I don't care. But we finna flood y'all to a loss.
1993. I was a student. Yep. Summer of 93.
Oh. So it's 4 years before I got that. I didn't know that. I thought it was so ancient ago. It really didn't matter. That pissed me off, and we got the W.
It was
there
so
anyway.
Flooded. I think it covered the basketball backboards.
It did.
It was that high.
I remember seeing balls floating in the water and everything like that. But I mean that really pissed me off during that game, and we made it known that we're gonna get this W. They was quiet at the end of the game too.
So you talked about Derrick Rose. He had his number lifted to the rafters for the Bulls. Was it last night or Friday night?
Last night.
Which led me to think, in this era of NIL, and we're anxiously waiting for your number to be raised to the rafters with Fizer on it. There's a number of other fives that are out there, notably Joshua Jefferson that could be up there too someday. Should schools be looking at this a little bit differently in NIL? Because you can literally get your number raised at multiple locations. You can understand it in the NBA. I mean, surely LeBron will have his numbers raised in Miami and in LA and in Cleveland. So I can get that. But what about in college? Are we at an era now where a college player could have their number raised in the rafters of multiple schools?
I don't see why not. I've gotten a lot of tweets, a lot of, comments, a lot of, messages and people asking or saying that Iowa State needs to change that rule. The rule is what it is. I don't contest it one way or the other.
And you want to share what that rule is? I know you're familiar with it because we've talked about it.
That you have to have gotten your degree in order to, have your number retired. Along with the accolades and everything else, that comes along with it.
Right. And you are where in that process today?
Right. I'm close in that process. I've always promised my mom that I was going to, continue and finish. You just reminded me a couple of days ago that the students were back into school, so I got to reach back out to the registrar and get my things moving and process to finish that unbelievable task. I would love to be able to come back to Iowa State and actually go on campus and do classes, stuff like that. But the way grown life is set up right now, that's not going to happen. But I'm going to finish that process, to be able to, explore a lot of different things, avenues in life. I want to get into the higher level coaching and stuff like that. I know a lot of places you don't have to have a degree, but a lot of places do. So to go ahead and knock that out, to be able to be in position to, get in that position or have my number retired if Iowa State wants to do that, I will be honored to do that as well. But looking forward to finishing and graduating, get my cap and gown and walking like everybody else and, fulfilling that promise to my mom.
So you would walk?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely would be back in Ames with that class.
That would be fantastic. I can't
party at Pizza Pit.
We're gonna be party at Pizza Pit. Yeah.
Absolutely party at Pizza Pit. I know my wife at least would be there for sure.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait, and I know that you're excited. I was really surprised to learn that a lot of coaching staffs, you have to have had a 4-year degree in order to be on their coaching staff. And I guess in a way it makes sense because as a leader, you want someone that has been there, done that, as you're preaching the student part of student athlete, that hey, all of us got a 4-year degree, but at the same time, ball. You played NBA, you played overseas,
right.
You played at the highest levels.
Right.
Ball. I mean, I can't tell you the number of text chains you're giving such colorful insight of situations with players or talent that's out there. And then that player will go off and we sit there and go, how did he know this? This is phenomenal. Ball.
Yeah, it's but we're also, like you said, we're getting to the point to where, we are in, people label it as it's not college, it's the pros now because they're getting paid. So we are getting to the point to where, I've always been, even as the student athlete, I get it and I understand it. I know that's a prerequisite to, you have to be a student athlete, go to school to learn, to be the athlete. The word is student athlete, so you had to go. But at the same time, what I majored in, my goal was to be a pro in basketball. So it doesn't matter if I had my degree or not. It wasn't going to help me in the NBA, or anything like that. So what we're dealing with now, and guys are getting paid, guys can make enough money and never go to the NBA and never turn pro or whatever, and, may want to use a degree or may not. It's just, we was talking about Carson Beck. Graduated 2 years ago, and he's just been playing college football. So, I mean, is that going to change a little bit? And again, I think it's every, university that I don't think it's necessarily a rule, but I remember back in the day, it's like how, you teaching student athletes the importance of having a degree and when you don't have the degree. But at the same time, I understand that a degree is important if you're looking to get a job in that field of a degree. Mm-hmm. Me, I'm always before. That's why I'm so back in the NIL. My goal is to either put these kids in a position to better themselves in the pros, better themselves, financial wise for them and their family, or get their education paid for if they don't get a chance to be a pro as an athlete and get something in the field of their degree. But I don't want to minimize the importance of a degree and things like that. But if I'm not going to be a doctor and I'm an athlete, then you're not going to get me to say that the degree is more important than making money. If I make $100 million in my career, if I make $50 million, if I make $10 million, and that sets me up for the rest of my life, what do I need a degree for? You got you got athletes, pro athletes that have the worst credit in the world. They don't need credit. They got $50 million liquid in the bank. What they need credit for? They can buy anything that they want. So the dynamic of it all has to be wrapped in together to understand that there's different avenues, different ways to do different things, and just go from there.
All right. Well, I think that sounds like a wrap. I'll be excited. I'm anxious for you to finish your degree, to get it, and I know it's meaningful for you and your mom and family, and to see you be able to walk across. I hope it's sooner rather than later, so we can celebrate Marcus Fizer and hang your number up above the.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Kenny Pratt recently finished his.
Oh, did
he? And then speak with him, hearing about that really, that's the OG. And I said, if Kenny definitely focused on doing that, then it's time for me to be the real adult, to finish and go ahead and get done with it and see what happens from there.
Well, and we just talked earlier about how competitive you guys are. I have a feeling that you're going to use that as a motivation for you to get your degree. So thank you, Kenny Pratt.
Absolutely. That's the OG. I appreciate him a lot in my career for sure.
All right. Well, hey, it's been a privilege. Thanks everyone for joining us again tonight. And again, remember our sponsors that have been so good with us and are continuing to grow our sponsorship. Thank you to the OG Revelton Distilling Company and of course the Iowa Beef Steakhouse and our studio sponsor, Andrew Downs and the AKC marketing team. And welcome back Style by JJ Boutique out of Johnston, Julia Bradshaw. If you have not checked out her newest podcast on Three Beards Media, I would encourage you to check it out. And I'm hoping that the red velvet jacket they have, I really want one of those. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It would fit in well with this particular Cyclone. And of course, let's not forget
velvet.
It's velvet. And of course, let's not forget our newest sponsor, Naked Dave Seasoning, that I'm really looking forward to trying out. I know Marcus Yard too, and maybe Chris can get a shipment sent out to you to give it a try, since you're more apt to try it during these months when it's so cold here. You can at least try it there in Vegas. What do you say?
We'll see what happens.
All right.
I love to try it.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Go Cyclones.
Go Cyclones.
When the team takes flight, Hilton's rocking, hear the magic call. We rise together, we'll never fall. There's a cyclone brewing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Trice shakes when the team takes flight.